One thing I've discovered with Alessandro Gualtieri is that there are three consistent things with the man. One, he doesn't like to reveal notes. Whenever he releases a new fragrance, you don't know what's actually in the fragrance. Two, he loves duality. He loves this repulsion, attraction, and how these two play together. And number three, he does seem to be very intense with all things sexual. Have a look at his imagery connected to some of his fragrances. However, nothing as intense, nothing as overtly sexual as Sadonaso. The name, the phallic lid that was created as a special edition, and then that promo video. When the fragrance was first released, I was on a train and I watched the promo video. I had to stop it. I'm like, who is looking at this? What am I looking at? What is going on here? It gives you the impression that this is a sex, mad, crutch-smelling, leather, latex, sassy kind of fragrance. High on musk, very high on animalics. When I saw all these visuals, I was like, I don't know if I want to smell this. Is this actually an art piece versus a perfume that you would wear? But let's experience this. It's anything but that video. There is one thing that is consistent all through the ages, and that is that sex sells. For me, that video is just a cute little marketing tool to draws people's eye to the actual fragrance. This is the other thing too. To denote a fragrance being soft and tender, so the imagery that you would have with that is, I guess, is two faces close together, tenderness, lips touching. How many times have you seen that in promoting a fragrance? So to cut through all that clutter, all that imagery that's out there, Alessandro in his cleverness creates something that is like, what are we looking at? And instantly draws the attention. For me, when it opens, there is a sweet vanillic tenderness to it. There is a familiarity, almost to the point of cookies being baked. Something moreish, something that you are comfortable with. It then migrates to clean body, not clean skin. Clean skin gives you the impression that it is a soapy, squeaky clean. No, this is a clean body. Think of when you go to someone that you love, a lover, and you kiss them within this region here. It could even be at the end of the day or in the morning, where if they wear perfume, this fragrance is still there, but it's now mingled in with them, with their scent profile, touching that skin, that tenderness. This is where the fragrance migrates to, this clean body scent. It finally does dry down to an animalic skin. And I say skin because now something has occurred. Lovemaking, this intimacy, this tenderness between two individuals, you're getting this more musky, almost sassy. There is a sassy component to the fragrance, but there's still that tenderness, there's still that vanilla, there's still that softness in the fragrance that you discovered at the beginning, but now there's a little bit more animalic sass component to it. People talk about notes that they identify in the fragrance, things like coffee and toffee, caramel, a cookie-like quality, vanilla, powderiness, a musk, honey. I detect some of those, but not all. Coffee, I don't detect any coffee. The honey is a recent thing. I was wearing it, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm detecting a honey note. I've never experienced it prior to that. Up until that moment, it was vanilla, cookie dough-like, powderiness with that musky sass near the end of it. It has incredible sillage. This is a fragrance that has beautiful sillage. However, it does have a low projection on it. So it's a moderate to low. It's almost contradictory in the way that it performs. When I first experienced it, I actually thought it was a very soft, low projecting fragrance. So I exceeded my normal sprays. 2 to 3 is where I like to live. I did like 4 to 5. It blew my brain. I could not believe the potency. It's almost like 2 sprays is normal, but 3 equated to 7. It was like just by that extra spray, just exploded, and it was giving me a headache. 2 to 3 sprays maximum is more than sufficient for this fragrance to push out. It surprises me. There are times where people can detect it quite easily when they come in close. Others, when they're quite distant from me, they can actually smell the fragrance. My wife has a radar for this fragrance. She detects it instantly. And interestingly, she does the duality on me. Sometimes she's like, whoa, what are you wearing? That is just sexy. That's just beautiful. And other times she's like, what are you wearing? That thing is potent and strong. She's like, there's a sass in there that I can't quite define. So again, the fragrance has this ability to morph into different things. I own the Nasomatto range. I find that this one here is the most complex for me. Sometimes it's this, other times it's that. I can't quite put my finger on it. I was recently at a function. This fragrance was a bad choice for that function, but I did it on purpose. I wanted to see the response I was going to get. My father, first person to greet me, instantly said, what are you wearing? He could detect it from a distance. He's like, you smell sassy. Came up close, he's like, what are you wearing? Now, this was no surprise. My father is an aromatic kind of man, and that's where he likes to play. He doesn't really sort of venture too far afield. So I wasn't, for me, that was no worries. That was, I guess, an expected comment. My son, on the other hand, who's across the entire fragrance wheel, didn't detect it upon first greeting, gave me a hug and breathed in my fragrance and recoiled backward as if he was smelling 8-day-old urine. What are you wearing? And I'm like, it's Sadonaso, the new Nasomatto. He's like, I love Nasomatto. Came in for a second smell and recoiled again. He's like, nope. And he's almost like rubbing his nose. That doesn't work. At that same function, I had 3 to 4 other women who actually commented on how great I smelled. I say 3 to 4 because the 4th person was my wife. In this day, she loved it. The other 3 women were friends of the family, with one person in particular being a super shy woman who actually, as we were talking, and we were probably 1.5 meters apart, commented how beautiful my fragrance was. I asked her a few more questions. She got shy and scurried away. For me, hard to say it's this or that, other than it's a tender, intimate, sensual fragrance, and not overtly sexual like the promo video likes to demonstrate. As I was preparing for this particular episode, I was thinking to myself, what is this fragrance about? Is it really about sex? We were in a restaurant, my wife and I, and a song came on. And in that instant, I said, yep, this is the direction I'm gonna go. And I announced to my wife, all of us as humans, we wake up in the morning primarily to have sex. My wife, she's like, what are you talking about? And I said, listen to the song. The song is Sing It Back by Moloko. It's a pop song. It's almost benign in the sound. But if you listen to the lyrics, it talks about surrendering to someone in a sexual manner. When you are ready, I will surrender. Take me and do as you will. Have what you want, your ways, always the best way. Listen to the remix that was created by the DJ Pete Tong, and his version takes it one step further by mixing in the chorus line, Donna Summer's I Feel Love, you know, that incredible beat, that song that is all about sex. And the lyrics now say, come, come, come to my sweet melody. So I had come to the conclusion in hearing that song in this restaurant, as I was thinking about how do I bring this episode to life? What is Nasomatto's Sadonaso all about? It's about sex. And us as humans, we wake up every morning to have sex. My wife was disgusted, as I mentioned, and we started a conversation. And she started to tell me that, in fact, for her, as a woman, gets up every morning for love. And I'm thinking now, maybe this is the duality also. The both are an important facet. There was a study done in Canada at the Queen's University of Kingston in which they grabbed a group of men, both gay and straight, and the same with women, gay and straight, and they put sensors on their bodies, in particular around the genital area. And what they were measuring is blood flow and heart rate. And then they showed these individuals a series of explicit images and asked them afterwards, were they aroused by looking at those pictures? The men was easy. The men were like, yep, oh yep, bada bing. Naked man or naked woman, depending on whether they were straight or gay, they go, yep, they were aroused by those particular images. And the sensors detecting their body also acknowledged that yes, they were aroused. The women were a lot more complex. In looking at these images, some of the women said that the imagery didn't arouse them. However, when they looked at the sensors, it denoted that they had received some level of arousal, whether it was blood flow to their genital area or whether it was their heart rate that had increased. I go back to that duality between men and women also. For men, I mean, our, sexual urges are on always the top level. We have an appendage that at any instant, boom, it's ready for action. I mean, sometimes it's ready for action in the most benign locations, walking through a forest, bing bada boom, all of a sudden, hello, we're standing up to see what's going on. There's nothing going on, just be cool. Whereas for women, interestingly, their connection is about love. That study also demonstrated that women were drawn to where the imagery, there was coupling happening. Not so much a naked person. It was more about the tenderness between these two individuals. And that's where their arousal became more pronounced. So love. And I find that this fragrance is exactly that. Here's a fragrance that was created by Alessandro for intimacy, for love making. It's about tenderness. It's about body, skin together, and that animalic component that occurs in this exchange, in this interaction. I have fallen in love with all things Alessandro Gualtieri and Nasomatto. For me, this is his most complex, most exciting. It is the most tender, the most divine, the most unusual, the most attractive, the most repulsive fragrance that he has in his collection. I don't recommend that you blind buy this. You need to experience it. You'll find that some people detect this most unusual note. They're sensitive to it. I've tried to smell what my son was smelling that time when he recoiled backwards. I'm not detecting any of that. Not one that I would recommend that you take to the office, but definitely one that you would go out on a first date. Maybe not, because that's also dangerous. But what are your thoughts? For those who have experienced Sadonaso, I'd love to hear what your comments are in regards to this. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you all on the next episode.
Yeah.